The new book, Pirates. The Disaster Star Comes, is released the Inuki Clan, who has plucked all the dog hair from the ninja dog's body. Why did the tight-fitting suit worn by Maite become a hit in my village? Why did the third-generation Hokage fight against 8-year-old children in the office? Is it the moral decay or the distortion of human nature behind all this? Please look forward to the pure author telling you one by one. P.S. QQ Group 104-372-8295 Keywords of the novel. Konoha Potion Madness No Pop-Ups, Konoha Potion Madness TXT Complete Collection Download, Konoha Potion Madness Latest Chapter Reading. Chapter 1. I Really Do It For His Good. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. I really do it for his good. Cut open the wound, remove the remaining painless fragments, fold your hands, and the healing technique will be activated. Only a flash of green light can be seen, and the originally palm-sized wound will disappear. The boy wiped the sweat off his forehead and looked at the cured patient in front of him, feeling an excited emotion. Success, I finally succeeded. With so much effort and sweat, I finally had the opportunity to independently complete a patient treatment. Outside, 5 medical ninjas were holding a record board and observing the young man's treatment process, admiring him endlessly. This kid is really good. In just half a year, he already has the strength of a lower-level medical ninja. Yeah, and he's still so young. He's only 8 years old this year, right? At such a young age and with such a fast learning speed, this has already set 2 records in our hospital. The young man inside the room was treating the patient, while the assessors outside were amazed. Originally, it was a scene with a normal art style, but now looking at the patient who was still in a coma in front of him, the boy took out a bottle of reagent and poured it into the patient's mouth. An excited emotion could no longer be suppressed. Damn it, nobody is around at last. I can finally complete my own experiment. Do you remember that today, you will become a miracle of my village? What about the big snake pill? Where are the 3 generations of ape flies? Where the hell are they? Come out and fight with me alone. I feel that unprecedented strength is emerging. I am just a patient. What a joke. I can beat 10 people at a time when Shangren comes, not just related people. Call me out and see if I can beat them to death. On the rooftop of the Kiba hospital, a ninja wearing a sick suit roared wildly. Through his open suit, one could vaguely see the faint pink marks left by his chest after it had just healed. However, at this moment, this highly belligerent ninja disregarded his just-healed body and looked contemptuously at the medical ninjas surrounding him. He rushed out with a sword step, punched Snake Maru's feminine voice, and kicked 3 generations of bitter-gourd face in the air. Bang! The sound of palm tapping on the wooden table came, and the middle-aged third-generation ape Flying Sun slashed his forehead and veins, roaring wildly at the young man in front of him. Chimu Zhouduan, what the hell are you doing? Hey! The boy, who was called Zhou Duan, looked at the fire shadow in front of him with a bewildered expression and asked in great surprise. Did I do anything? Hee, pretend, you can pretend for me again. San Daimu gave Zhou Duan a cold glance, and then Egg painfully picked up the documents on his desk. Mo Shang Clockwise, a member of the Flying Bird Squad, Xia Nin, took on a total of 11 ninja missions, completed 10 ninja missions, and failed once. However, it was this time that he was stabbed by an enemy in the chest and blocked Kuwu quickly, causing Kuwu's fragments to penetrate deep into his chest. Considering that his injuries were scary but not serious, he used it as the flag with Zhou Duan, which is the content of your child's lower-level medical ninja exam. In order to avoid a sense of dependence during the operation, this treatment was given to you alone. There was no one left in the room, and it was precisely this one that left. The third generation stared at Zhou Duan with gritted teeth. I don't know what you've injected into this idiot. He's been running around the village, relentlessly provoking powerful ninjas with names and names. If he suddenly improves his combat power, it's fine. But Tuanzang just tentatively released a D.level ninjutsu and severely injured him, with 80% of his body fractured. He's currently in the intensive care unit hanging his life, and this guy hasn't improved his combat power at all. Don't you want to say anything about this? Hey! Is that so? Zhou Duan's innocent eyes widened. I really didn't do anything, you know, there was no one in the operating room who saw it. I must have been wronged. Are you treating me like an old fool, kid? 3 generations of heavy pounding tables. There was no one in the operating room, but there were 5 assessors watching you outside at the time. Are they shameless enough to use you as a child as a shield? Zhou Duan scratched his head and suddenly slapped his hands, revealing his thumb to the 3rd generation. You truly deserve to be the Hokage, as you have predicted. These 5 guys' intention to frame me was immediately discovered by you. Framing up a fart. Even with the existence of Qingfu like the 3rd generation, he couldn't help but curse at this moment. He opened the drawer of the table and pulled out a notebook, which he began to recite in pain. 3 days ago, it was discovered that Chimu Zhoduan had poured a bottle of unknown red potion into the mouth of a task bounty kitten, causing an increase in agility, hunger, and digestive ability. The result was that the nose of the 2nd generation of Huyinyan was covered with a thick layer of drainage material, and the cleaning personnel worked and dried it for 2 days to clean it up. 10 days ago, it was discovered that Chimu Zhoduan had poured a bottle of blue unknown potion into the mouth of Inuki Tsurumi's ninja, causing him to urinate on the face of Hokage generation for a full half-hour. During this time, he continued to avoid the ninja without interruption. Afterwards, the dog experienced extreme dehydration symptoms and only fully recovered 2 days ago. A month ago, it was discovered that Chimu Zhoduan had poured a bottle of unknown yellow potion into the mouth of a male patient who had just undergone surgery. Due to its speed, other medical personnel were unable to stop it in time. According to Chimu Zhoduan, this potion was only a way to increase physical vitality. However, after the patient woke up, he showed great interest in the same sex. Before he knocked him unconscious, this person had already taken off the pants of 3 medical personnel. What's even more outrageous is that he held one of the medical personnel onto Huiying Rock, and his underwear had already been taken off. If he hadn't knocked him unconscious in time in the dark, the first case of same-sex daytime masturbation in the history of Muye would have been on fire. Something happened on Shadow Rock. Sandaimu frantically threw the unfinished files in his hand at Zhou Duan's feet, and his eyes roared with anger. I don't understand why these playboys you set out on love to cause trouble and destroy Hokage. This is something that other ninja villages have dreamed of doing throughout history, and you have completed it countless times. Are you playing with them or harming Kiba? Don't be fooled, believe it or not, I'll throw you to Kiba prison. The roar of the 3rd generation Hokage came to an end, and the room fell into silence. Zhou Duan stared blankly at the Hokage, momentarily intimidated by its momentum. After standing for 2 seconds, wow! A loud cry echoed through the entire Huiying building. Huiying's face immediately resembled eating a fly, and the sound of Huiying Lord, Zhou Duan's guardian, Chimu Shuamao has arrived outside the door made the corners of Sandai's mouth twitch uncontrollably. In the end, Huiying watched as Chimu Shuamao, who had just entered the room with a bewildered expression, kept rolling and groping around with a stream of snot and tears. With a headache, he kicked these 2 people out. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Flag wood cutting around. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 2 Flag wood cutting around. Chimu Zhou Duan, formerly known as Zhou Duan, was a technical engineer at a state-owned pharmaceutical factory. During an experiment, he had a sudden idea and drank the purified sleeping pills. As a result, he fainted in an extremely strong sense of suffocation and woke up in the world of Huiying. Not to mention why this guy drank sleeping pills when he was young and had a bright future, but Zhou Duan did indeed come to this world of dark technology and very unscientific Hokage. After a series of experiences such as suddenly crossing to the center of the battlefield, being chased by bloodthirsty and brutal enemies, being saved and taken in by my Baya, and passing through village tests, among others, Zhou Duan finally settled down in the home of Chimu Shuamao in Hokage world, my village. Zhou Duan stood in front of the mirror at home, looking at the cute 8-year-old boy with black hair in the mirror. A sense of unreality arose, but no matter how unreal it was, he had already appeared here. Even if it was a dream, Zhou Duan would grit his teeth and finish it. Zhou Duan. Returning home, as Zhou Duan reflected in the mirror, Chimu Shuamao patted Zhou Duan's shoulder. Zhou Duan, I brought you back to the village because I couldn't bear you to die on the battlefield. When you were young, Kiba would take care of you, and when you became a ninja, you must also contribute to the village. There is no such thing as giving for no reason in the world, and your talent is excellent. In just half a year, you have already mastered everything about the lower-level medical ninja. This is also the reason why the third generation has turned a blind eye to your usual troubles, but you cannot be reckless just because of this. Uncle Mao, I know I was wrong. Zhou Duan interrupted Chimu Shuamao's words and looked at him, who was serious in front of him, with a hint of shame and innocence on his face. Next, are you going to take me door to explain why Mo Shangjua provoked famous ninjas? I remember there were people from Zaraya, Gumgate, Tuanzang, Hinata Munetaka, and Uchiha here. Cough. Chimu Shuamao coughed unnaturally and spoke to Zhou Duan with a slightly awkward expression. This week is over, and you understand now. I will teach you another ninja rule, which is that no matter what situation, even if drugged, ninjas should not lose their true intention. Once they cannot control it, extremely serious consequences will occur. The example is the Mo's hang our hand. It's getting late, I'll go prepare dinner for today. Bang. With the door tightly closed, Chimu Shuamao also stumbled out of the room. Looking at Chimu Shuamao's slightly awkward back, Zhou Duan's small face showed a wicked smile of the successful conspiracy. Chimu Shuamao is good everywhere, but he has no understanding of children. It's also unfortunate that my genius-like experimental potion can be used recklessly on others. Judging from this posture, Uncle Mao won't protect me for another 2 years. If I want to find voluntary test takers for these potions that can shake the ninja world and not be scolded, I must upgrade to intermediate medical ninja in these 2 years. Zhou Duan was happily reminiscing about the benefits of Chimu Shuamao, the combination of the carrying pot hero and the receiving plate hero, when suddenly a sudden gathering of chakras came from inside the house. There's a situation. Zhou Duan hurriedly looked towards the place where chakra had gathered, but only saw a white stream of water spraying directly onto his face. A whiff of urine came, and Zhou Duan's originally mischievous smile immediately turned into a bitter gourd face. Looking towards the direction of the water column, he saw a wooden cradle with snow-white hair and a baby staring at him coldly with dead fish eyes. The dissatisfaction was perfectly expressed through that eternal dead fish eyes. Zhou Duan silently threw a middle finger at the baby, and then, disregarding his own smell, helped Chimu Kakashi change into a diaper. That's right, this is Kakashi. Even if thrown into a pile of 10,000 babies, those timeless dead fish eyes can make people recognize him at a glance. The reason why Zhou Duan disregarded helping Kakashi change his diaper first is because if he didn't, this unlucky child would definitely use the ultimate skill of infancy. Crying loudly. If you make your benefactor's child cry at their home, do you still want to mess around? Damn it, should I say it's truly Kakashi? I could have gathered such a large amount of chakra at the age of 2 and sent out a urine prompt. Really, shouldn't I just be a little late to get you the urinal? As for that. Zhou Duan cursed and helped Kakashi change his diaper, but although he couldn't understand what Zhou Duan was saying, Kakashi still threw a middle finger at Zhou Duan, who was emitting an unpleasant aura. Zhou Duan. Glancing at those dead fish eyes again, Zhou Duan showed a painful look and took the diaper he had just changed. He opened the door and walked out. There is still a bottle of medicine that hasn't been tested for its effectiveness. Hurry up and trick someone into drinking this thing before eating. With hedgehog-like white hair, a sturdy body, and a face adorned with red paint at the corners of its eyes, Zilai is now fully focused on monitoring the intelligence inside the house through the small hole on the wall. Zhou Duan looked at Zelaya, whose whole body was almost pressed against the wooden wall of the women's bathtub, and the corners of his eyes twitched. In this era of ninjas, especially those with a sense of crisis, everyone was desperately squeezing and exercising their bodies, resulting in a body that was comparable to that of a model and a bodybuilder. In addition, with Zilai's already top-notch appearance and a bright future, there will definitely be a large number of beautiful women rushing forward. However, this guy is like a crazy man with a weak brain and insists on peeping like a fool. If there are girls who like it, it's strange. Even if there are those who like it, once they hear about the reputation of this guy, they dare not approach. Look at Orochimaru, wearing a face that is paralyzed or even vicious every day, he is still the popular lover of beautiful women. But even with contempt, it was also a shame that Zilai did the same. Only then did Zhou Duan have the confidence to recommend his potion to this guy. Thinking of this, Zhou Duan silently walked forward and patted Zilai's shoulder. Due to all of his energy being focused on monitoring the women's bathtub, Zilai did not notice any commotion around him until Zhou Duan patted his shoulder, and Zilai woke up in shock. However, he had a professional level of endurance. Even though cold sweat was rising from his back, Zilai did not make a sound. Instead, he silently turned his head and looked at Zhou Duan, whispering. "Zhou Duan, how did you come here? Hurry up and leave. I suspect that ninjas from other villages have infiltrated here and are monitoring. This place is too dangerous. Please leave quickly. Why are you teasing me? If you want to say that in a different place, maybe I'll believe it." Zhou Duan thought of it in his heart, but did not say it out loud. Instead, he spoke with admiration on his face. "Really? Lord Zilai, you discovered the spy who infiltrated the village alone. You are really a pillar of the village. Coincidentally, I have a set of potions here that can be observed more clearly by enemy surveillance personnel. I will give them to you for free." "Really?" After entering the infatuated mode, Zilai, whose intelligence had turned negative, did not doubt Zhou Duan's words at all. In his current thoughts, since Zhou Duan did not immediately expose his voyeurism, he could not harm himself next. He swallowed Zhou Duan's potion in one gulp, but Zilai immediately found his chakra surging out of his body uncontrollably. He only heard a loud bang, and the wall made of wood in front of him shattered with a loud bang. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Medications. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Medications. Ah, pervert. Damn stinky thug. Oh my goodness, he's actually naked. Bang, although she was in the women's bathtub, she was actually a female ninja from the village. At the moment when the wooden wall was shattered, except for a few who did not react and hid in the water, the rest had already put on their clothes in an instant. A pair of terrifying eyes, tempered by life and death on the battlefield, stared fixedly at Zelaya. Her cold gaze flowed like a demon in hell, about to destroy the invincible invaders. "Zelaya, you scumbag." A scream of anger rang out, and a shiny blonde hair curled up. The young girl, who had a huge breasts but an extremely slim body, now emitted a hellish ghost-like aura. "It's not like that." Suddenly, the current crisis situation appeared, and Zilai wanted to explain in vain. However, at this moment, Zilai also demonstrated a very rogue behavior of, "If you don't show me naked, I will show you naked." Of course, the scene in front of me has always been quite bewildering. Zilai was also naked, searching for Zhou Duan's figure in the chaotic attacks, but this kid had already run away, there was no trace of him. In theory, the current situation is to immediately escape and then seek a solution. However, Facing a group of female ninjas composed of Nakano and Ueno, even Zilai already has the strength of elite Ueno. It is difficult to retreat calmly without harming them, and it is this hesitation that has caused Zilai to suffer. A large number of chakras quickly gathered, and then they were tightly locked in their fists. Before the move arrived, the faint sense of crisis had already enveloped Jiraiya's heart. They were both members of the elite's tolerance, and even Jiraiya made a hasty response with a half-day-long angry blow, but still did not block this terrifying blow. Its momentum is like power, its strength is like prison, its name is strange power. At the moment when the fists and flesh collided, Zilai couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of old blood. Then, driven by terrifying force, he plowed a deep groove on the ground and disappeared from everyone's eyes. After making an attack that was not an exaggeration even to kill someone, Gangsho rolled his eyes fiercely towards the direction where Zilai had disappeared. His contempt was clearly visible. Finally, he waved to a group of female ninjas who were clearly afraid, took them, and left here. At the end of the tunnel, patches of trees were smashed off by the waste, and a pitiful figure lay weakly on the pile of broken trees. Zhou Duan looked at Zelaya, who was covered in blood and in a coma, and his eyebrows twitched slightly before he spoke expressionlessly from behind. System, start recording the experimental results of my newly developed explosive. Didi, the system is starting to record, and at the same time, this system reminds the researchers that the experimenter of explosive drugs is in a life-threatening stage, and if left unattended, it may cause death. Don't worry about these details. Zhou Duan spoke with a nonchalant expression. This scumbag has been peeking at the women's bathtub for so long without being noticed. This method didn't tell me, and it's just right to die. Let's start recording. First, the explosive pill takes effect 7 seconds after drinking it. Secondly, explosive clothing agents can perfectly corrode the user's clothing and have no side effects on the user's body. Thirdly, after drinking the explosive clothing potion, chakras burst out uncontrollably from the whole body, causing a large amount of smoke to erupt at the same time with the power to destroy a 10-centimeter thick wooden board drip. Successful record of explosive drug, researcher. Zhou Duan. Currently, the 100th drug has been recorded by the researcher. The system will reward the researcher with the current drug formula, which will be distributed 24 hours later. Drip, the system detects that the experimenter of the explosive coating is in an extremely critical state of life. If left unattended, it may cause death. Che, those scumbags who possess the skill of peeping into women's bathrooms without being discovered but don't know how to share it will die if they die. Zhou Duan looked at Zelaya with an indifferent expression, but this scene drove the hidden Kiba guard crazy. Hey, does this kid still have some human nature? That's Zelaya, and Ming, you heard it too. At a young age, his lust is so strong, and his jealousy is still so strong. Is this guy really an 8-year-old kid? The speaker was a security guard member named Uchiha Lien, who had activated the blood will eyes of the 2 Goyu, while Ming was a cold ninja who had activated the wheel eyes of the 3 Goyu. Due to the system, most of what Zhou Duan said to the system would be ignored. However, when it came to Zhou Duan's desperate words, both security guards heard him. Faced with this situation, even the most cold guy, I also had to show the expression of the Japanese ninja dog. Damn it, this guy Zelaya is actually the main force of the village's first battle. Although he doesn't support our Yuzhibo clan very much, he just died so miserably, which is also a big loss for us, and Yuji Boming said with an unbearable headache. This happens to be our patrol location, he's dead, we can't say for sure. It's not that the 2 members of the guard didn't immediately rescue him and instead wasted time in the same place. Instead, seeing Jiraiya's extremely miserable appearance, they let the 2 know that unless it was an emergency treatment by a medical ninja at the lower ninja level, even lifting this color embryo would pose a fatal threat to him. From the 2 of them running to Kiba Hospital and pulling the doctor over, this time is enough for many things to happen. Zhou Duan, this kid is a junior doctor who is good. As long as this kid takes action, it won't be a problem. But the most crucial question is, will this kid take action? Watching Zhou Duan gesturing toward Zilai but not making a move, Yuzhibwa Ming and the others exchanged a glance, both sighing and putting on their masks before appearing in front of Zhou Duan. Yuzhibwa Ming took a step forward and spoke directly. Chimu Zhouduan, we are the Kiba Guard. Given the current situation, we need you to immediately treat Zelaya and take him to Kiba Hospital. I think with your skills, it shouldn't be difficult to take a person, right? Zhou Duan looked at the two people who suddenly appeared in front of him, remained silent for 2 seconds, and suddenly spoke with a wary expression. Do you call yourself the Kiba Guard? Where's the evidence? In the first class of ninjas, we talked about not trusting strangers easily. I remember it very clearly. Hiss. Yuji Boming took a cold breath, feeling that he had never seen such a damn little kid before. Who dares to pretend to be the Kiba Guard in Kiba is looking for death. A lot of Sharingan eyes are watching you, and it will definitely torture you to death. Moreover, judging from Zhou Duan's behavior, this guy definitely confirmed his identity as the Kiba Guard at the first glance. The reason why he proposed such a thing is that he doesn't believe the nonsense of strangers, it's just this guy who didn't want to save himself. What Yuji Boming thought of, Yuji Balian also thought of. I'm saying, kid, you probably don't have any grudges against Zilai either. Refusing to save in the face of death is a taboo in the village. How could I refuse to save my life? Zhou Duan widened his eyes and appeared extremely angry. Zilai was also severely injured, with 8 broken ribs, all of which were fractured injuries. The bones must be wrapped in chakras to expel contaminated blood and block muscles from secondary injury. Moreover, the fractured teeth of the bones are very close to the heart, and even a slight mistake can lead to death. Although the fracture of both arms is not fatal, the fractured teeth are also close to arteries and tendons, and the bones must be restored and corrected with skillful force before being treated with healing surgery. Zhou Duan spoke at a constant pace, constantly explaining the precautions during treatment, but this made Yuzhibwa and Ming's faces darker and darker. They didn't want to save people, did they? This guy obviously didn't want to save people, did he? With such detailed explanations, you wouldn't even know an emergency solution. Don't you look at me like that. Do I look like someone who refuses to save their lives? As Zhou Duan watched the two people in front of him turn increasingly dark, he decisively revealed his trump card. Besides, I didn't bring any medical tools to treat patients today. Pop it. As soon as Zhou Duan finished speaking, something fell from him to the ground. A palm-sized wooden leaf specialized medical bag. Zhou Duan pursed his lips and ignored the stunned faces of the two, directly attaching himself to Zelaya's ear. Zelaya, I will never forget what you have done to me in my lifetime. Even if I were killed or jumped off the fire shadow rock, I would never save you. In a coma, Zilai also opened his eyes and twitched his mouth as he spoke. Zhou Duan, I was wrong when I refused to lend you the ninja frog for research. I also admit my mistake when I took your wallet and stood you up. My wallet is with me, and I agree with Ninja Frog. You can summon it now. Looking at Zelaya in front of him, who was incredibly compatible, Zhou Duan immediately showed a satisfied smile. Is this first aid really not difficult? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Such a system. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Such a system. The dimensional pharmaceutical system is a component that comes with the Zhou Duan time travel. Of course, it is a very important component. The dimensional pharmaceutical system, as the name suggests, is a system that is linked to pharmaceuticals. Every time a researcher develops a new medication, it will be included in the system. Based on the researcher's research on the effects of the medication, the system will give corresponding rewards. Of course, the medication developed by the researcher must be practical and can indeed improve or harm the human body. As a pharmacist, Zhou Duan originally wanted to use the herbs in the Fire Shadow world to research and develop some potions that could stimulate potential and enhance chakra. However, he was informed by the system that these potions had already been studied and included by other travelers, and there was no opportunity for Zhou Duan to develop. Under all circumstances, Zhou Duan had no choice but to research these crazy potions, explosive clothing potions, and other miscellaneous things. But all sorts of things belong to all sorts of things. The things that Zhou Duan has researched have really been recognized and included by the system, and the rewards provided by the system are indeed meaningful. It is precisely because of these things that the brain activation drug formula that enhances brain potential, the chakra growth drug formula that constantly stimulates chakra to continuously improve, various precious herbal materials, advanced medical equipment, and so on, it was only then that Zhou Duan gained the strength of an ordinary ninja in just 2 years, and in just over a year, he reached the level of medical ninja that others would need 5 or 6 years to accumulate to become. But high rewards mean high risks, and other aspects of the system are very satisfactory to Zhou Duan, but only one thing. This system will release tasks from time to time. Zhou Duan still remembers the first task released by the system at that time. To personally kill Himeji. Researchers can play independently or lead ninjas who have been enhanced by the host to play. Note: more than 70% of the damage suffered by Hui Yeji must be caused by the strength enhanced by the potion. If it does not reach 70%, the researcher is forced to wear women's clothing and is surrounded by a group of muscular men who love freedom, engaging in indescribable behavior. Such a treacherous task made Zhou Duan, who had originally intended to dive and eat until death, feel a great deal of pain. However, there was no way for Zhou Duan to break free from this system, and he had no choice but to accept his fate. This was also the reason why Zhou Duan crazily experimented with new drugs in hopes of quickly obtaining better drugs and experimental equipment, causing chaos throughout the village of Mai. Fortunately, there is still a lot of time. Although the system does not provide advanced drugs that can directly kill Hui Yeji, as long as I work hard and accumulate experience, I will eventually develop powerful drugs. I wonder why no one would think of combining 3 or more attribute chakra potions according to the prescription of these potions in the system. Look at the Earth Shadow and the original world stripping technique, which are almost unsolvable. As long as I have more than 10 people who know this kind of ninjutsu and stand around Kagaya-ji, attacking seamlessly, even she will have a headache, right? What's more, the fusion of 4 or even 5 attributes, and even the fusion of immortality. On top of it, Zhou Duan put away his thoughts and looked at Zelaya, who was lying on the wooden leaf bed with a pitiful appearance. If it weren't for the task, Zhou Duan would be too embarrassed to disturb Zelaya now. System task. Defeat the provoking Xianin. Due to the researcher's potion, Konoha Nanomo Yusuji faced an extremely tragic fate, and Yusuji swore to make the researcher pay the price. Note: in order to test the research achievements of researchers over the years, researchers are not allowed to use any ninjutsu beyond the 3-body technique when fighting against Mozhang clockwork. They must use the drugs developed by the researchers to defeat the opponent. Task reward, applicable to the current strength of the researcher's potion formula. If it fails, the researcher will be forced to dress up as a maid and dance in front of the entire class for an hour. Hiss. This is really an incredible task. Thanks to my years of not slacking off on research, otherwise it would really be a dead end. But to complete this task, I really need to come myself. Although Zilai, as an elite ninja, possesses extremely powerful camouflage skills, as a medical ninja, Zhou Duan immediately discovered it. Zilai, who had just woken up but immediately pretended to sleep, also had slightly trembling eyebrows and a beating heart. Cut. Disdainfully spat out a mouthful of foam, and Zhou Duan spoke with a cold voice. Master Zilai, it's not easy to deceive medical ninjas. Just now, for the sake of your life, I didn't ask you to summon a ninja frog while dragging your seriously ill body. But now that you have received treatment, it's time to summon one for me. Although Zhou Duan had already reminded Zilai, this shameless guy remained motionless. Not only was his body no longer trembling, but even his heartbeat immediately stabilized. Seeing this, Zhou Duan's eyes became even colder, and he turned to take out a surgical knife from his arms. It seems that Lord Lia won't wake up in the short term, but it's still easy to summon the ninja frog. It seems like just pressing your hand on a flat surface is enough. As for the summoner's blood, the surgical knife flipped a blade in Zhou Duan's hand and directly cut towards Zileia's crotch. This place has a lot of blood. Please forgive me. Just now, the sober Zilai also clasped his hands tightly and grabbed Zhou Duan's hands. Despite the intense pain in his body and the trembling lower body, he quickly spoke up. It's just summoning the ninja frog, Zhou Duan. You don't need to do this, I'll summon it for you now. Facts have proved that Zilai is indeed a powerful elite Shangren. Even though he was seriously injured, he summoned a rice pot-sized tolerant frog when chakra was full, and it can be seen that Zilai also mixed well in Miamu Mountain. The tolerant frog immediately asked with concern when he saw that he was wrapped up like Zongzi. Zileia, are you okay? Who could have beaten you like this? I will avenge you. What do you need me to do? There's no need for revenge. There's really one thing I need your help with. Zilai also pointed slightly bitter at the back of Ninja Frog, and in the moment he turned his head to look, Ninja Frog immediately jumped up, and his already huge eyes almost flew out of his sockets. Damn it, Zhou Duan, it's you demon. You drew my second uncle's blood, peeled off a piece of my father's skin, and even put your hand into my master's mouth to take gastric juice. You're even more. Damn it, why are you scumbags here? You, oh, aren't you? Ninja Frog looked bitterly at Zileia. Zileia, you wouldn't have made any deal with this little devil again. Ah. A surgical knife cut off a piece of meat on Ninja Frog's leg, followed by a dazzling and rapid dressing. It wasn't until the dressing was done that Ninja Frog let out a earth-shattering scream. Alright, stop shouting. Zhou Duan weighed the meat strips in his hand. It's just a piece of flesh the size of my thumb. After my medication and bandage, you won't even leave a scar. In the past half-month of contact, you should have confidence in my medical ninjutsu, otherwise. Zhou Duan looked at the tearful Ninja Frog with a kind smile. I don't have the face to go and collect materials from you again in the future. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Maite Dai. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Maite Dai Zileia, Zhou Duan, these are two guys whose conscience has been eaten by Ninja Dog, and Zileia has thrown away his integrity. At least Zhou Duan borrowed materials from Ninja Frog because of the potion formula, and Zileia sold Ninja Frog directly for money. In theory, with the enduring power of the elite, Zileia doesn't worry about money. However, countless attempts to discuss life with a beautiful little sister and delay tasks have angered the third Hokage, directly limiting Zileia's income. Under all helplessness, Zileia has to gradually move away from the abyss known as Zhou Duan. However, no matter how scumbags there is a bottom line. Every time Zhou Duan is asked to vent his beastly desires on Ninja Frog, he will fiercely pit Zhou Duan. The last time, after taking all the money from Zhou Duan's body, he greatly stood Zhou Duan up. However, even though Zhou Duan, as a medical ninja, generously accepted many benefits from the patient, coupled with the living expenses provided by Chimu Sumao, in order to constantly supplement his medication materials, there was not much money. After painstakingly using his hard-earned savings for 3 months, he was also stood up by Zilai, which led to the scene where Zhou Duan fell into a trap and Zilai refused to save him. Shaking his head, Zhou Duan concealed his thoughts and looked at Zilai, who was comforting Ninja Frog in bed. He rolled his big eyes. Although Zilai often used Ninja Frog to block his sword for money, this guy was still good for Ninja Frog. He often went to various places to rescue Ninja Frog who was trapped, and even helped resolve the crisis at Miamu Mountain several times. Otherwise, with his current behavior, he would have been collectively destroyed by Ninja Frog. If Zilai hadn't stopped him, Zhou Duan would have been unable to avoid the tragedy of being called out by Ninja Frog, who held a grudge, and then sitting dead by a fart. But now Zhou Duan put the frog meat in his hand into the potion test tube that he had taken out at an unknown time. The liquid inside immediately turned from bright red to emerald green, and the system also timely gave a prompt of successful potion preparation. However, the phenomenon of successful potion preparation did not make Zhou Duan smile. Instead, his expression gradually solidified, and his eyes became dangerous. For the first time, he showed a face of death as if returning home. Although the potion has been successfully prepared, the next step is the most important. Although there is a hell ahead full of swords, flames, and evil spirits, I have no other way out. No longer looking at the gaze of one person and one frog on the bed, crossing friendship and silently gazing at each other, Zhou Duan left a dying figure behind. I hope I can return safely. In the depths of the uninhabited dense forest, a figure was grinding its body in a crazy way, deliberately dispersing the full chakra. It only used its physical strength to crazily collide with the giant tree hugged by 10 people in front of it. Fists, head, back, thighs. The figure crazily used every part of its body, tirelessly and painlessly attacking. The giant tree in front of it was hit by a slightly concave blood hole, while the figure's body, full of scratches and bruises, emitted an indomitable roar. 1328, legs, 1329, fist, 1330, head. The uninterrupted roar, the incessant collision of flesh and trees, this is the interweaving sound of war roar and war drum, like the arrival of a wild beast, or like the fury of a god of war, with only one person, but as if taking a person to a battlefield of countless armies and horses, constantly killing and attacking. Ah, every time I see this kind of scene, it gives people a feeling of boiling blood, right? The system. D. Report to the researcher. The system does not have the emotion of boiling blood, but after scanning the system, it was found that the researcher's current state is not boiling blood, but mixed with negative emotions such as fear, pain, and despair. This system has been certified by authorities and there is no misdiagnosis. Che, how can an emotionless system scan human emotions? I'll tell you. Yo, isn't this Zhou Duan? You came to see me here to have a fun workout with me. Before Zhou Duan could finish refuting the system's words, a heroic voice came through. At some point, the figure who had been masturbating the tree had stopped masturbating and looked up at Zhou Duan on the branch. The resolute face, mixed with blood and sweat, had already disappeared, but instead replaced it with a climaxing scream. Zhou Duan, have you finally made the right decision to learn ninjutsu from me, which is only suitable for passionate men? No. Do you want to start the apprenticeship ceremony now, seeing your dusty and hurried appearance? No. Looking at your eager expression, do you want to understand the true mystery of ninja's strength now? Wait, listen to me. The existence named Zhou Duan desperately wanted to speak his heart out, but the guy across from him who was extremely excited didn't listen at all. He saw the figure charging slightly, and the next second, only a ground full of cracks remained in place, and the figure had already disappeared from Zhou Duan's view. Transformation technique. The art of clone. Stand-up technique. Without any hesitation, during the stage when the figure was slightly charging, Zhou Duan had already used his three-body technique in an instant. Zhou Duan swore that this was the best time he had ever used his three-body technique since encountering ninjutsu. Hidden behind a large tree with lush leaves, Zhou Duan dared not even take a breath. His originally serious expression had long been overshadowed by fear and despair. Thinking of the evil deeds that the figure was about to do to him, Zhou Duan couldn't help but tremble all over. The behavior that made the whole village turn pale upon hearing it was definitely not something he could bear now. Although he had already been mentally prepared, Zhou Duan did not expect the figure to take action as soon as they met. I lifted my arm to wipe the cold sweat off my forehead, but Zhou Duan's gaze had just landed on my arm, and his pupils instantly shrunk to the size of a needle tip. Zhou Duan's gaze turned downwards, and the scene from the nightmare finally turned into reality. Finally, Zhou Duan collapsed weakly to the ground, muttering to himself. Have I been hit yet? Just as we met, I changed my clothes and looked like this ghost. This green tight-fitting shirt, green tight-fitting pants, perfectly embodying the 2 points on my chest and the bulging lump under my crotch, this shameful outfit. In despair, Zhou Duan let out a mournful howl from a dying beast. Mitterday, I'll fight you his mother. With a 30-70 hairstyle and eyebrows as long and wide as a beard, Mateo appeared in front of Zhou Duan, dressed in the same tight-fitting suit. My disciple, it's good to want to exercise hard, but what you say can easily be misunderstood as you want to work hard with me. Don't say anything that would cause misunderstandings next time. Maite Dai showed his iconic silly smile and gave Zhou Duan a thumbs up. Moreover, a hot-blooded man's exercise doesn't require any other messy clothes, which will wear away your passion. Let me help you tear apart all the thorns that block the way. Tear it apart. Accompanied by the sound of clothes tearing apart, Zhou Duan's white training suit turned into cloth pieces when he arrived. Zhou Duan also faced a desperate choice. Whether to choose not to wear tight clothes, cross the village with red fruit to return home, or wear the same tight clothes as not, cross the village to return home. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Test. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Test. The strong wind blew, countless leaves fell, and Zhou Duan clenched his waist to reveal the figure of wild laughter. In front of him, Zhou Duan was like a little girl who had been violated, with chest protection in both hands, curled body, and lifeless eyes. He looked at Maite Dai, who had abused him, and let out a desperate cry. What did I do wrong? Why did you do this to me? Hey! Maite Dai looked at Zhou Duan with confusion. My disciple, have I done anything? Is there anything wrong with this outfit? Hehe, are you feeling a bit pressured? Zhou Duan looked at the innocent Maite Dai in front of him and felt a pang of pain. He remembered the evaluation of this product in the village and couldn't help but feel liver ache. Wan Yen Xiaoren, who was promoting a twisted tight-fitting suit, a twisted person who put on a tight-fitting suit that was even worse than not wearing it to cover up his exposure, and a bastard whose weight of the tight-fitting suit combined was not as good as a female swimsuit. However, this is not the most important thing. After Zhou Duan cut off the chest and crotch of the tight-fitting shirt and sold it to 2 married men with a lewd expression at a high price, this tight-fitting shirt became even more stinky. Once upon a time, Zhou Duan even fantasized that if he found a way to put this tight-fitting suit on Hui Yeji's body, would the ultimate boss himself be ashamed and die. But now, looking at his already stained body, Zhou Duan shook the detonating talisman in his hand and showed a shattered smile. Hello, Maite Dai, let's experience the brilliance of art together. Bang! The detonating talisman in his hand was instantly taken away by Maite Dai. After the close contact between his fist and face, his fist strength did not decrease, driving Zhou Duan's body. After breaking 2 large trees, it directly embedded into the 3rd tree. Ha ha ha. Maite Dai let out a hearty laugh. My disciple, in order to test my master's reaction ability, you actually used the method of detonating talismans. How about that? Not bad, right? As long as you study hard with me, you will also gain the same strength as me. Intentionally, this bastard must be intentional. Zhou Duan covered his right cheek, which was swollen to the size of Mantu, and muttered to himself. The system, this kind of goods has the strength close to the upper tolerance without opening 8 doors. The reason why they have been the lower tolerance for so many years is that they rely on the brain of a precious animal, and they offend people unconsciously. For overly complex interpersonal relationships, the system cannot provide researchers reference materials. However, after system testing, there is no obvious abnormality in the researcher's right cheekbone, but subcutaneous tissue is extensively congested and microvessels are extensively ruptured. It is recommended to seek timely treatment. Ah, thank you for your concern. Zhou Duan placed his right hand on his face, activated a healing spell, and looked at Maite Dai in front of him with boiling animal blood. Thinking about his tragic experience, he couldn't help but sigh. Although he had already thought of this scene before he arrived, the worst-case scenario he had anticipated still made Zhou Duan somewhat reluctant to let go. However, in order to avoid the system's terrifying punishment, this was the easiest way, and all he needed was a thick face comparable to a city wall. Moreover, aside from the non-mainstream brain of Maite Dai, if this guy's combat power is fully unleashed, he can withstand the 7 ninjas and eliminate the non-human existence of 4 of them. If there is no special forging method, no special medication support, and even killing Zhou Duan would not believe it, the forging method is fine. However, Zhou Duan definitely wants the medicine used for forging, and with the system, it is not impossible for Zhou Duan to develop a new medicine that is not in the system. Thinking of this, Zhou Duan looked at Maite Dai and said obediently. If you want me to be your disciple, you can, but I don't have time recently, and you have to teach me your summoning skills today. Really? Maite Dai widened his eyes in disbelief. Although he kept saying that he wanted Zhou Duan to apprentice, Maite Dai knew that although his abilities were fully developed and he had a strength beyond endurance, his training methods and harsh usage conditions could almost make everyone hesitate. The world of ninjutsu is not peaceful at all. I cannot predict when I will die. My son is only 2 years old and cannot learn his ninjutsu. As for asking others to transfer ninjutsu to my son, people with strong abilities may not be able to reach them themselves, while those with lower abilities may die earlier than me. So, when Zhou Duan first showed interest in Maite Dai's 8 Gates Duanjia, Maite Dai was so overjoyed. A genius who had developed ninja skills after studying at ninja school for 2 years and became a medical ninja within a year. His adoptive father was also the upper ninja flag, Mu Shuomao, from Muye Village. Such a genius actually wanted to learn his own ninjutsu. The ninja world is a very cruel place, where continuous battles consume ninjas rapidly. Ninjas inevitably lose their family and friends, which leads to the formation of a master-apprentice relationship. The emotions brought by this relationship are no worse than those of family. At least if it is not for the extremely vicious generation, they cannot swallow master ninjutsu alone and let go of their master-child's affairs. With Zhou Duan's talent, even if he didn't work as hard as he did, he grew up very quickly, not to mention having a tolerant foster father to take care of him. In this way, his worries were completely solved. Maite Dai looked at Zhou Duan, and the more he looked at him, the happier he became. However, in addition to his joy, the transition of testing his disciples' qualifications still had to go. Thinking of this, Maite Dai suddenly put away his climax face and put on a serious face. Zhou Duan, although you sincerely want to worship me as your teacher. Zhou Duan is a bit confused. Am I sincere? Although you have experienced great hardships in this. Hey! Have I experienced any hardships? Although there may still be some unpleasant and dirty experiences in the middle of this. Hey, why am I so dirty? Can you understand what you're saying? Damn it, don't talk to yourself for me. But. Matt's eyes were electric, and the sharp light seemed to pierce through Zhou's broken eyes. Although you have gone through all the hardships to reach this point, as a teacher, you still need to test your dedication to becoming a disciple. The 8 Gates of Duanjia, will never accept those who have impure intentions and are cunning and deceitful. Sleeping trough, to finish. Zhou Duan was already scared to pee. What the hell are you going to do? Open the door, open and close the door, open and open the door, open. The green energy instantly gathered around Maite Dai, with a momentum like an abyss, like hell, and a wave of war intent to tear people apart firmly enveloped Zhou Duan. Opening 3 doors in a row is my intention. Zhou Duan, as long as you can block my 500 punches, I will recognize you as my disciple. Zhou Duan. MMP. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Staring from a Deadly Enemy. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 7 Staring from a Deadly Enemy, Thousand-Handed Rope Tree. Arrive. Yuzibo Meiqin. Arrive. Bo Feng Shui Men. Arrive. In the classroom of Kiba School, a ninjutsu teacher named Kato Ing was taking roll calls, and Zhou Duan couldn't help but speak to the turtle on the table in front of him, looking at this familiar scene. Hey, Shui Jian, it's so boring. You said that even though you already have the strength of Zhongren, anyone who is absent can tell at a glance. Why do you still need to call the roll? Is the addiction to being a teacher really that enjoyable for him? And his name, Kato Ing, why do you call him Kato Ing? Other names are not good, just Kato Duan and Kato Ming are also good. Hey! Lying on the table, a red turtle the size of a basin slowly extended its head and shyly spoke. Well, although teacher Kato Ing has such strength, in my opinion, the teacher's roll call is a very important step. It can subtly deepen the teacher's position among students, make the teacher more confident in the teaching process, and students listen more carefully to what the teacher says. Our superior Ninoki is also implementing this roll call, and Shui Jian's shy personality caused him to speak intermittently in front of Zhou Duan, a person he had just met. I think the name, Kato Eagle, is very good. Eagles are a sharp and proud animal. Old. Teachers' parents must hope that their children can become strong and resilient ninjas like eagles. Hey, what? What's going on? Cut. Zhou Duan looked at the timid turtle in front of him with a displeased expression, and his malicious gaze scared the turtle back into its shell. Even though he is such a timid guy, he dares to speak to me in such a preaching tone. It seems that you are not as simple as it appears on the surface. Zhou Duan roughly reached his hand into the turtle shell and pinched Shui Jian's head. Don't be too arrogant, just a subordinate ninja turtle. Believe it or not, I'll give the spot for this reinforcement to another ninja turtle. Please. Please stop. You're dreaming. No, don't do this. How could it be? Yeah. Linen belt. Hee, since it has already fallen into my hands, there is no way to easily forgive you for making a mistake. Zhou Duan looked at Shui Jian with a sneer on his face, pinching his head with his right hand and constantly pulling and shrinking. His cruel actions, devilish behavior, and purgatory-like behavior made the same sitting vortex Jiu Na blush. Bang! Zhou Duan, have you had enough trouble? On the podium, watching Zhou Duan's increasingly excessive behavior, Kato Ing couldn't help but have his veins jumping uncontrollably. Zhou Duan, although you only entered the advanced class for 2 years, it does not mean that you really have the ability to take the ninja exam. Moreover, what I want to talk about next is the content of the ninja exam. This is the true core. Being able to enter the advanced class in such a short time indicates that your qualifications have been recognized by everyone. Don't enter the advanced class, but be eliminated when ninja graduates, wasting your talents. Now, immediately, get to the podium and stand there. Zhou Duan looked at the teacher on the podium, speaking confidently, and was instantly intimidated. A natural sense of fear from the students towards the teacher left Zhou Duan frozen in place. Then, he trembled and threw a middle finger at Kato Ing. Oh my goodness, Zhou Duan really has the courage. Yeah, dare to talk back to the teacher. Don't you know that teacher Kato Ing was also a famous ninja named Shizuki Leaf? That's right, although the teacher didn't advance to the upper ninja level, he is also one of the top ninjas among the middle ninjas. The teacher's famous skill. Kato Eagle's forbidden finger, but being able to deal with the terrifying skill of 3 ninjas at the same time, Zhou Duan is not going to die anymore. Listening to the unfamiliar faces of his classmates around him and watching Kato Ying's increasingly ugly expression on the podium, Zhou Duan showed no signs of making any mistakes. Instead, he pulled the turtle faster and faster, and Zhou Xinai had already covered his eyes with his hands, only looking through the gaps between his fingers. Just as the atmosphere became increasingly tense and Kato Ying couldn't hold his face, his classmates around him waited for Kato Ying to unleash the terrifying aura of an intermediate ninja. Kato Ying coughed lightly. "Classmates, let's now talk about the details of the upcoming endurance test. Oh, did it just pass by like this? The teacher's memory won't be so bad, will it? Last time, Autumn Dao Ding Yuan was punished by the teacher to stand all morning. How idle you are." Zhou Duan looked helplessly at these idle classmates who were in pain. "Are you just enjoying the fun and not thinking it's too big? Did you not notice the right fist tightly clenched by Kato Ying hiding behind him? It's time for the qualification exam, are you really not worried at all?" Of course, there are 3 reasons why Zhou Duan is so disrespectful to Kato Ying. Firstly, this guy has been talking about the content of the Nishin exam for over a month, which is really annoying. Secondly, although Zhou Duan has been promoted to the advanced class, he has already mastered all the content taught by Kato Ying. Due to the need to accumulate some medical experience, Zhou Duan does not want to graduate too early and go to the front line. Therefore, every time Zhou Duan listens to classes, he is extremely bored. When doing his own things, he is often called by Kato Ying, which drives Zhou Duan crazy every time. As for the third one, Kato Ying's little brother under his pants couldn't rise up again after being happy with many little sisters, and this scene happened to be discovered by Zhou Duan. After Zhou Duan's successful treatment, Kato Ying was extremely grateful to Zhou Duan. Zhou Duan also expressed in his heart that he could turn a one-time cured illness into a long-term phase treatment. On the one hand, he said his medical level has significantly improved, and on the other hand, he has caught the handle of the homeroom teacher. It's really amazing. Perhaps today is the day of assessment, or perhaps it is the discomfort of being challenged by Zhou Duan today. After hastily saying a few words about the exam details that all students in the class are already familiar with and cannot be more familiar with, Kato Ying waved his hand. "Time is almost up, and it's time to specifically assess your endurance. Everyone will go to the playground with me, but since this is your last time leaving this classroom, I have decided." Wow! A sound of smashing glass came. "Let's go out the window." Being selected as a teacher at Kiba School, it has to be said that Kato Ying is still very caring for the students. Despite being criticized and fined for leading the way in damaging the windows, he resolutely led the students to break through the windows, and this behavior did have an immediate effect. More than 60 still in a period of irritability, bare children, roared and smashed the glass, jumping out of the window. The originally restless and irritable emotions in the face of the ninja exam were suddenly replaced by a surge of enthusiasm. Even someone like Zhou Duan, who felt nostalgic for the name Kato Ying, praised the teacher who made this move. However, before Zhou Duan could say anything, a gathering of infinite malicious gazes had already made Zhou Duan's entire body stand up with sweat and hair. Wearing a green twisted tight-fitting suit, with explosive symbols all over his body and even his face covered, Mo Shangqi was staring at him coldly. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Fair Duel. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 8 Fair Duel. The gentle breeze blew by, but there was no coolness in the high fighting spirit of the students on the playground. They rubbed their hands and waited for the upcoming battle. However, in this high fighting spirit, Zhou Duan couldn't feel any excitement about the battle at all. He could only look at Kato beside him with pain. "Teacher, my opponent is probably not this pervert with explosive symbols all over his body, ready to self-destruct with others at any time, right?" "I'm sorry." The teacher named Kato spoke solemnly. "According to discussions between our school and the third-generation Hokage, the first battle will be between you and Mo Shangzhua. Don't worry, the candidates for this endurance have been screened based on the principles of fairness, impartiality, and openness, and there will be no malicious retaliation. Look. Kato pointed to the 3 generations of Hokage and several dark guards who appeared not far away at an unknown time. You see, the 3rd generation has temporarily abandoned their busy work and came here to watch your battles to prevent unfair competition. In Kiba village, you can distrust others. Will you still distrust Hokage? Zhou Duan, don't be too narrow-minded. Kato, who was originally a bit casual in class, has now become serious. Zhou Duan looked at Kato, who was so serious, and the 3rd generation Hokage, who was smiling and waving at him not far away, just wanted to express gratitude. MMP. Is it fair and just? Don't you have any idea? Is the explosive symbol all over Mo Shang's body a decoration? The green tight-fitting clothes on this product make me feel very uncomfortable. Why are the other assessors looking calm and composed, but only this guy wants to tear me apart? Okay, Zhou Duan admits that he's not right first, but can you not let Mo Shangjong conduct an assessment? Words of unwillingness weighed down in his heart, and words of resistance and criticism were stuck in his mouth. However, Zhou Duan didn't say a word, for no other reason. It was just that at some point, the 3rd generation had already appeared before him, with their hands on their shoulders and a kind expression on their face. Zhou Duan, you need to work hard. You are the first student to be assessed, so you need to set an example for others. The palm placed on Zhou Duan's shoulder exerted force, and a sentence that could only be heard by Zhou Duan reached Zhou Duan's ear. Kid, if you cause trouble, you have to solve it. I have already talked to Mo Shangjuan. If you win, everything is fine. If you don't defeat Mo Shangjuan, I will reveal the reason why this guy is so crazy. Hee. Zhou Duan looked at Sandai's big face with profound meaning and suddenly felt relieved. He mercifully glanced at the nearby Mozhang Clockhand. Zhou Duan felt that it was wrong to make Mozhang Clockhand arrogant, but this guy dared to curse weighing together and was really seeking death. It's obviously his own medicine problem. The 3 generations clearly know his own strength and have come up with such a battle to decide everything. This is the protection of genius in the village. Thinking of it, Zhou Duan is very lucky that he has spent all his time on improving his strength. This kind of strength has special care. This kind of talent can make others take the blame. This kind of dark side of the village. It's so damn great. Shaking his head, Zhou Duan pushed aside his chaotic thoughts, took away the hand that 3rd generation had placed on his shoulder, and carried Shui Jian, the size of a basin, to the center of the playground, standing in front of the wild-faced Mozhang Clockhand. Before the competition starts, I need to emphasize it again. Kato stood between Zhou Duan and Mo Shang Clockhand, perhaps with Hokage personally present. Kato maintained a serious expression throughout the entire journey. This competition is related to the allocation of all students after graduation. It is important to give full play to it. Students can use all their attack methods, even forbidden spells, but whether they are students or players, they are not allowed to continue attacking even if they know the other party has no combat power. Under the assessment, they are not allowed to use both sides' attacks to win. Do both sides understand? I understand. I understand. Very good. Kato nodded and dodged away from the middle of the two, but just as Kato had left, Mo Shangqi's eyes suddenly turned red. Kid, I won't forget everything you've done to me. Today, if I don't break you to pieces and leave you dead, I won't be a stranger. Hello. Looking at the cruel and violent look on Mo Shang's face, Zhou Duan couldn't help but turn his head and speak to referee Kato. Teacher, this guy is going to dismember me in countless pieces. Is it really okay to say such dangerous things? That's right. Other students watching from the sidelines were also puzzled. Are we also going to face this kind of tolerance? Yeah, just now Teacher Kato clearly said that deadly attacks are not allowed, but it seems like this Mo Shang's downward restraint is completely going to be a gamble. Don't be confused, everyone. The 3 generations speak up. The lower ninja we choose has a sense of propriety. Although the name Mo Shangzhua is very dangerous, it is only to test Zhou Duan's character. You should know that in battle, it is also important not to be suppressed by the enemy's momentum. I see. I truly deserve to be Lord Huiying. The selected assessors have all considered so much. Yeah, now I want to exchange ideas with Zhou Duan and try the pressure of momentum. Hee. Zhou Duan looked at this group of wall grass that couldn't even tell the real or the virtual. He didn't see the blood-red eyes and bleeding from biting his teeth on the street. The murderous aura that was about to tear Zhou Duan apart almost made him unable to open his eyes. Moreover, as Zhou Duan looked at the green tight-fitting clothes on the street, a strange thought always lingered in his heart. Sure enough, Zhou Duan's idea became a reality. After pouring 5 or 6 bottles of potions into Mo Shang's mouth, he shouted loudly. Students, open up. Graduates, in terms of strength alone, are not much different from Xia Ren. The only thing they lack is experience in completing tasks. Moreover, during the Second Ninja World War, Xia Ren with slightly stronger combat power was sent to the front line, while Xia Ren who stayed in the village had a moderate level, which was good. Therefore, a stranger who knew Zhou Duan's genius level and his own strength came up with a solution. This guy was deeply impressed by the skill of 8 dun armors that can be considered as a threat during a mission. After experiencing an unforgettable terrifying experience in the hands of Maite Dai, he finally learned the first door of 8 dun armors. Open the door. After using 5 or 6 types of potions to strengthen physical fitness but with unknown side effects, Mo Shangzhuan finally opened the door and increased his speed to the extreme. The pain all over his body turned into endless hatred, and the raging anger pressed all into his legs. With the sudden speed he gained and the explosive talisman all over his body, Mo Shangzhuan launched a charge towards Zhou Duan, committing suicide together. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Cruel Combat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Cruel Combat. As early as the system released the task of relying solely on medication to deal with ninja, Zhou Duan was preparing to use Ninja Frog's highly resilient leg muscles and various medicinal herbs that can harden muscles to achieve a perfect ratio of medication. Then, it was injected into the body of the Ninja Frog, and the final result was a Ninja Frog with extremely strong stretching ability, strong physical hardness, and strong impact force, with its head and neck area connected. And this Ninja Turtle's attack method is to constantly extend its head like a shell, and then retract it at lightning speed. Such a rapid attack is like a Gatling Vulcan, using extremely strong impact and dense and rapid attacks to crush the enemy. And the users of the potion have also been carefully considered by Zhou Duan. A small ninja turtle cannot withstand such a large amount of potion, while a large one can affect the stretching and shooting speed of the turtle's head. Moreover, considering the disadvantage of slow movement speed of ninja turtles, Zhou Duan directly fixed Shui Jian's 4 legs, which have been improved with the potion, firmly on his body. As for the fixed position, considering that the waist is the power point of the whole body and the shell of ninja turtles can also protect the key parts of the ninja, Zhou Duan directly fixed Shui Jian in his waist position. In this way, in the center of the Kiba school playground, a ninja named Mo Shangzhua hurriedly evaded enemy attacks. Originally using a large number of unknown side effects, he opened the first door of the 8 dun armors and had a medium ninja speed. However, under the enemy's attack, he turned into a bubble, just like a joke, enduring the enemy's attack in humiliation. What efforts have opened the first door of the 8 escaping armors, and what determination to perish together, covered in explosive talismans, have long been shattered in the darkness of the sky. This. Faced with the situation in front of me, I no longer know what to do. On the one hand, I really don't want this scene to pollute my eyes and challenge my values. On the other hand, Mo Shangzhong hasn't given up yet, so this competition must continue. Ha ha ha, wah ha ha ha. The turtle named Shui Jian let out a wild burst of laughter. After being injected with medicine, his originally shy personality completely transformed into a turtle during the battle. Mo's hang clockwork, aren't you crazy? You were forced to take banned drugs, use banned techniques, and even put on a detonating talisman by an underachieving student. Isn't it embarrassing to throw it away? For the hatred in my heart, no matter how you treat me, I won't give up. Drink it too. How dare you be so crazy in front of me? Believe it or not, do you doubt life? Come on, I'm not afraid of you. Attack me to your heart's content, I won't yield to you. Hey, I've been hitting you for so long, but you still haven't given up. It seems like you really enjoy being hit crazy. What are you joking about? Even if I am mercilessly whipped, I will definitely complete my revenge. Click. A slight cracking sound came from the third generation, who was in great anger and unconsciously crushed their beloved pipe. The third generation, whose face was already black and the pot bottom was mixed, could no longer tolerate such farce and shouted loudly. Enough. I won the contest every week. Both of you should stop his mother. The words of the third generation were like pressing the rest button, and Zhou Duan immediately stopped his attack behavior. However, Zhou Duan stopped his attack, and Mo Shangzhuan reluctantly started. Unfair, this is unfair. Third generation, I haven't lost yet, I still have the strength to fight. I am not convinced of this result. Are you dissatisfied? The information of the ongoing wars and the devastating loss of a large number of ninjas on the battlefield have left the third generation exhausted. They had hoped to take advantage of the school graduation exam to relax, but they never expected to encounter such a damn battle from the beginning. The third generation did not think that it would be unreliable, but a good battle turned into such a situation. Even a good temper like the third generation could not bear it. At this moment, looking at the shameful appearance of Mo Shangzhuan, the third generation experienced countless life and death struggles on the battlefield, and the terrifying killing intent accumulated by the bloody struggles in the village's power struggle suddenly surged out, with both eyes dead. Staring at Mo Shang clockwise. Are you dissatisfied? As if night had fallen, or as if gazing into hell, the howling and disobedience of Mo Shangzhua was suddenly interrupted, and he stood straight in place. His cold sweat instantly soaked through the tight-fitting clothes that were tightly attached to his body. However, it was unclear whether Mo Shangzhua had extremely strong psychological qualities or an uncontrollable hatred for Zhou Duan. Despite being scolded by the enraged third-generation eyes, Mo Shangzhua still faced tremendous pressure and argued. Hokage, ninjas are born to be fearless of everything, even if the road ahead is humiliating, they must persevere. This is my way of endurance, not to mention that I have only been hit a few times, not to mention losing my combat power. I am still in the peak stage of combat. This statement fell silent for the third generation. It's not that he can't just speak up and grab the Mozhang clock hand. It's really because if it's not in line with the style that the third generation has always had. I can catch you, but at least on the surface, I want you to be convinced before catching you. Sandai didn't speak, but he used his eyes to stop him from trying to catch the fire shadow guard who was disrespectful to him. Sandai glanced at Zhou Duan, which meant it was self-evident. If you don't tidy up this guy clearly, you will die unsightly. Zhou Duan pouted and gave Sandaimu a reassuring look, then turned around and gave a kind smile to Mo Shangzi. Mozhang clock hand, do you know? My attacks come with their own grasping skills. When the words came down, a dark shadow hit the Mozhang clockwise from Zhou Duan again. This time, the Mozhang clockwise felt the impact, and at the same time, he felt a gentle pulling feeling. After the storm-like attack, the pain of the Mozhang was all over. When he looked at the Mozhang, Zhou Duan had gathered a thick stack of detonating symbols under his body, and the damned turtle also had a thick stack in his mouth. As Zhou Duan looked at the white and green detonating talismans under his body, the remaining unwillingness on the street gradually disappeared. He was about to give up in despair, but years of ninja life made him instinctively realize that something was wrong. The detonating talismans were all white with black stripes. When did they turn into white and green? A gentle breeze blew by, and Mo Shangqi felt a more pronounced coolness. After silently swallowing and spitting, Mo Shangqi forced herself to look down. Her smooth chest was dazzling white. It's okay. As a male, it's not a big deal to have bare arms. She continued to look down, her smooth thighs, her smooth calves, and then, her smooth skin. Mo Shangzhong remained silent for a second and had to accept a cruel reality. However, because the reality was too cruel, Mo Shangzhong couldn't bear the agony in her heart and fainted in despair. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Watergate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Watergate. The strong wind blew, rolling up countless fallen leaves. In the bleak autumn wind, Zhou Duan's back was extremely lonely. Zhou Duan disdainfully glanced at the fainting street and looked up at the sky. After a long time, he sighed. Master, how lonely. You're a damn expert. What qualifications do you have to talk about loneliness? The 3 generations of ninjas gritted their teeth and gritted their teeth. Ninjas, who could not be tolerated by ordinary people, and those who could not be tolerated by ordinary people, were all those with strong personalities, strong minds, and strong spirits. At least since the 3rd generation of Eyes, there have been many ninjas who couldn't bear the pain and fainted, but the only one who was humiliated and fainted was the one in front of them. This cannot be said that Mo Shangzhuan is mentally fragile, but at least he is also a ninja who has experienced multiple life and death battles. It can only be said that Zhou Duan is too wicked. It's not surprising that the ninjutsu developed by Zhou Duan in the 3rd generation was indeed quite powerful, but after thinking about it, when the enemy attacked, I felt that my whole person was not good. If the first 2 generations had knowledge of it under the fire shadow spring, they might have been so angry that they would have uncovered their coffins. 3 generations of angry beards fluttered high, and the pitiful pipe in their hand had evolved from fragments to powder. 3 generations suppressed their anger and looked at the remaining students, forcibly suppressing their tone. Zhou Duan has passed the graduation exam, but I hope Zhou Duan's fighting style is just an exception. The 3rd generation is biting the word special case very hard, which is self-evident. Fortunately, the next student is Bofeng Shui Men, and Bofeng Shui Men did not disappoint the 3rd generation. The competition is starting. With the start of Kato Eagle, Bofeng Shui Men instantly distanced himself from his opponent, and 3 swords in his hand struck the opponent's face and chest in the shape of a pin. Ding ding ding. The sound of the short knife blocking the sword in hand rang out, and the sword in the hand of Shuimen was easily knocked away by Xia Nin, who was assessed. He exerted force under his feet and thrust towards Shuimen again. Wind escape. Chaotic wind blade. Watching the assessment result, Ren easily knocked away his sword in his hand. Shuimen's expression remained unchanged, but his hands quickly formed seals. After cutting off his drink, a large number of palm-sized crescent-shaped wind blades rushed towards the opponent. Foam done. Great breakthrough. Faced with a large number of wind blades emitted by Watergate, I didn't hesitate in the assessment and immediately launched an attack. A thick tornado instantly formed and faced the wind blade. In the next moment, 2 wind-escape ninjas collided, causing a raging wind. Although the 2 ninjutsu techniques cancel each other out, based on the wind blades that leave marks on ninja's body during the assessment, it is obvious that Mizumi's ninjutsu is stronger. However, in the face of this situation, Ninja not only did not feel defeated during the assessment, but also had a more reassuring expression. As soon as the initial wave of the ninjutsu gate was opened, he widened the distance and even used his sword and ninjutsu to obstruct himself. Even though they were both D.level ninjutsu, Mizumi was actually stronger. All of these represent that the opponent is a ninja who is good at long-range attacks but not good at close combat. As Zhou Duan watched under the assessment, Ninja hurriedly wanted to get closer and engage in a close battle with Watergate. Zhou Duan pursed his lips. If judged by the fighting behavior of a typical ninja, this assessment's judgment was not wrong, but Zhou Duan took a deep look at the rapidly retreating wave-wind Watergate. This guy is a genius. Sure enough, Zhou Duan's judgment was verified. In order to end the battle as soon as possible, Shui Men deliberately gave the opponent a false impression that he was not good at melee combat. This made the use of the short sword, which was already very good at melee combat, even more firm in his determination to charge up and harden his anus. And this was also the beginning of his resistance to failure. 5 steps, this is the distance between Xia Nin and the Watergate at this moment. With his body lowered, he held the knife in his right hand and closed it at his left waist in an explosive manner. The remaining left hand held the deadly corner of his right wrist. The pull knife slash. This most popular yet classic move has been completed by Xia Nin's brewing. With only 1 step left, he can knock down the little ghost in front of him who is desperately distancing himself from him. I don't want to lose like that idiot on the street. You should know that although I am an examiner, what it means to be defeated by a newly graduated kid and what impact it will have on my future career. That goes without saying. Step down again, the distance from the Watergate has been pulled to 1 meter, and the restraint on the left hand suddenly left. However, the right hand of the sword, which was about to strike with a stunning blow, did not strike hard. I looked down at the Watergate across from me and noticed that the small face, which had always shown a pure smile, was filled with a frenzy of war at some point. The originally wide blue eyes had already narrowed into 2 narrow red rays. Not good. Xia Ren suddenly felt a crisis. Thanks to his usual hard work, the once exhilarating strike and horizontal slash had been changed to horizontal chest protection. However, this was just a dying struggle. Shocking birds. Accompanied by fervent cries, 4 Watergates appeared at the same time, crazily attacking around Xia Nin within a range of 2 meters. Through that blurry figure, one can discover a shocking fact. Those 4 Watergates were not changes in clone art, but remnants caused by the rapid attack of the Watergates. Undoubtedly named Shockbird, the relentless impact in the hands of Watergate is like a disturbed and irritable flock of birds, using their beaks to launch a massive thrust. Undoubtedly, he is the man who can perfectly control the flying thunder god in the future. Without the extremely fast sensitivity, teleportation to the enemy's side can only be a death sentence. The short sword broke in half when attacked at the same point more than 20 times in a row. The sword in hand was blocked less than 5 times and flew away. The 2 daggers quickly shattered into pieces in the continuous attack. Finally, with no weapons left in his hand, Xia reluctantly stood in place, and Shui Men once again regained the appearance of that good young man. Bo Feng Shui Men, win. The battle between the 2 sounded long, but in reality it was not very brief until Kato Eagle announced the end of their battle, and the fierce wind they caused did not stop. The system of Hokage is very strange. Ninjas can launch devastating attacks, but their physical defense is very weak. This has led to many students who didn't have time to protect themselves being blown upside down, and a few unlucky ones who also had their clothes blown off can only silently regret watching their clothes blown away. Of course, among the graduates present, the easiest and most unaffected one is to break for several weeks. After all, knowing that the battle dynamics at the Wave-Wind-Water Gate are not small, this guy had already released his defensive ninjutsu in advance, which caused others to either perform ninjutsu in embarrassment or be blown upside down when the storm started. Zhou Duan was the only guy who stood upright with both hands on his back and was extremely capable of pretending to be forced. However, there is also a drawback to the back of both hands. When 4 or 5 fragrant and gorgeous interiors hit Zhou Duan's face, Zhou Duan had no time to defend. Well, perhaps this was Zhou Duan's deliberate failure to defend. When Zhou Duan looked in a certain direction and saw 4 or 5 girls blinking boldly at him in the strong wind, he felt that all of this was not important anymore. End of this chapter.